Welcome. Welcome, friends. Come on in. We'll just wait another moment to make sure everybody who wants to be here is here. Please open your chat box at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a desktop, we'll have fun quizzes for you, and you can ask questions while we are working on our tutorial today. So if you open up your chat, we'll see the questions, either Suzanne or myself. So welcome. My name is Shayna Billow. I'm a knitting teacher and knitwear designer from Northern New Jersey, USA. And I do a lot of design work with Zen Yarn Garden and their luscious yarns. And so thank you to Zen for hosting this wonderful Tutorial Tuesday. This is actually the 35th Tutorial Tuesday, believe it or not. And all of the previous Tutorial Tuesdays are recorded and available on the Zen Yarn Garden YouTube page. So feel free to go to YouTube, Zen Yarn Garden, and hit subscribe, and you'll get updates anytime there's a new video.
And I'll post it in the chat. I'll post it in the chat.
Oh, thanks. And Suzanne just posted the link there. So if you go to the link, there's a little subscribe button for Zen Yarn Garden, and you can certainly subscribe and be updated whenever there are videos. I guess, Suzanne, do you want to introduce yourself? Suzanne's
Sure.
my partner.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Nielsen. I do some of the Tutorial Tuesdays too, and do also some design and work for Zen and teaching. And so we're just excited to have you here. And I don't have anything else to say. I'll be watching the chat. So open the chat and I'll be asking the questions for the giveaways. 2 $20 gift certificates again today. So pay attention, and yeah, I'll let you take it back.
Thank you. All right. So today I cast on for just the body of the foot of the sock because I wanted to make sure I could have everybody see what I was doing. So I've got like a giant's sock right here and missing the toe, but I hope you'll get the concept of where I'm at. Right now, I'm at the point in the sock, and I'm using the fabulous Xena color, one of the new colorways in Zen Yarn Garden. This is the one inspired by Roxanne's and Neville's dog. At any rate, so this is the Xena colorway. This is the top of the sock, and then here I've got the bottom. What we're focusing on today is opening up the gusset of the sock and then working the heel in short rows. So I'm going to switch to my other camera so you can see me work the increases for the gusset and then work the heel shaping with short rows. All right, and just to kind of sketch out, so you've done the toe already with Suzanne, and then you started knitting the foot. Now here we need the foot to rise up a little bit to meet the way that the way our feet are shaped. So here we're going to work some increases. If we have lace coming up here, we're going to work 4 increase rows right here. Then we're going to shape the heel with short rows. So I'll do a very geometric drawing of that. So our first step are these increases here. And I've actually worked a couple of them just so that we have an example of what they look like here. But right along the side in the stockinette, I have 2 make 1 increases here and 2 make 1 increases right there. So I'm going to start my round. This is the gusset round. Okay, I'm ready to work my 3rd increase on the gusset round. And I just want to point something out to everybody in the pattern. Here, repeat the last 2 rows 3 times more. So we're doing these 2 rows 4 total times. I just wanted to point that out because I almost didn't. I almost did it 3 times. All right, so we're going to start with our pattern stitch. The row for the increases calls for us to work in pattern to the first marker. So what I've done here for my magic loop is I've put half of my stitches, or the instep stitches, so the stitches that go on the top of the foot, on 1 half of the needle. So 1 half of my magic loop are the instep stitches, and 1 half of my loop are the sole stitches. Okay, so here I am. I've knit to my marker. I'm going to drag those stitches up onto the needle. Flip my marker over. Okay, knit 1. And now here's where we shape the instep. Right here, we're going to do a make 1 left for the first increase. And so make one left is going into the horizontal bar that's laying between the two needles from front to back. And you'll notice that loop sits on the needle kind of slanting to the left. Make one left. I'm going to work through the back leg of the stitch to twist it closed. So the stitch is sitting on the needle like so. I'm going to turn the work a little and kind of dig into the back of the stitch, wrap my yarn like a regular knit and pull that through. So there's a make one left. Then I'm going to knit to one stitch before the next marker, which also happens to be the end of my round. So one stitch before the end of the round. And I'll do a make one right over there on that, in that space right before the last stitch. Okay. And then we'll have a chance to do another increase like this. So here we go. I've knit the last stitch right before the end. So make one right is done the opposite way of the make one left. I'm going to lift up that horizontal bar from back to front. You'll notice that stitch sits on the needle twisted, slanted a little bit to the right. Okay, I'm going to knit that through the front leg of the stitch to twist it closed for the make one. Knit my last stitch and then I'll slip the marker over. So now I'm on my resting row, the knit row, and I'll work that. So again, this instep shaping that we're doing here is to slightly open up the width of the foot to accommodate the instep of our foot, how tall our foot gets, right where the ankle meets the foot on the top. So that's what our goal is here. This is, I'm just working the plain knit round, and then we'll work the next increase round, and then I'll start working on the heel, which has the short rows. Okay. This is a plain round. I now have 2 more stitches on that round because of the increase I did on the previous one. Oh boy. Suzanne, I told you. I said I don't usually do magic loop, but I thought it would be great for this sock, and I'm like all thumbs with it. So for those of you.
And when I do double points, I'm the same way. I'm like,
we were giggling about this before the lesson, that I'd have the needle tangled around my body by the end of our session today. And I think that's pretty likely. So just for those of you out there afraid to try something new, go for it.
You might like it better. Who knows? Like, I think it's always good to try new techniques, and
for sure.
If you end up, then you just know that you like the old one. If you end up going back to it, it's not wasting time. It's just reassuring, right?
Yeah, it's so funny. Sometimes we get so used to one thing. All right, so here I am. I'm on the next row. So now this row is my slip, slip, knit row. And I know Suzanne and I had a discussion about SSKs in our previous tiny tutorial together. I slipped them both knitwise. Some people slip the first stitch knitwise and then the second stitch purlwise. It's all a matter of preference.
It does make a little difference. So if you ever, are a little curious and you want to
yes.
do a little swatch with both, you can see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's all knitting techniques are so interesting. And it's funny how there are just so many ways of doing things and they all work out.
That's the beauty, right?
I'm yarning over and doing my SSK. And then this one ends with a yarn over right before the knit one. Okay, and now I'm ready for my final increase section of this last increase row. So I'll be doing those make ones again. I'll try to go slow here so everyone can see, but you're going to slip your marker, knit one, and then we're going to make one left right here. So to make one left, you're going to insert your left hand needle from front to back. So going away from you into that loop here. And it's sort of slanted to the left. Then you're going to knit through the back leg of the stitch. That twists it closed. when I always have this goofy rhyme with make ones, if it's tight, it's right. You want to make sure it twists closed to get that little loop there at the base of the stitch. All right, now we're going to knit to 1 stitch before the next marker, which happens to be the end of the round. And then we're going to make 1 right.
Shana, did I tell you my mnemonic for my make 1 rights and lefts?
Let's hear it.
Mine is for make 1 left, you left the front door open. So left, you have to go through the front. So you'll be right back.
Got it. And then you go through, got it.
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right, so here I am. I'm ready for make 1 right. I'm going to lift up this horizontal bar from the back to the front. I will be right back. And here I'm going to knit it through the front loop to twist it closed. So it's hard to get into it. Sometimes I open that piece up and then I knit it through the front just like so. All right, so that finishes the gusset. And just to show you what we've got going on here, you can see the opening a little bit where this line went straight up and then the stitches start opening up into that shaping. So that's where we're getting this kind of widening of the foot. There's my toe, here's my heel, this widening right here to match what our feet naturally do in that instep. All right, now for our heel, what I'll do is I'll get this started. We'll do a couple short rows together for now, and then we'll take our little commercial break with Suzanne, where she'll ask our first quiz question. But first we'll do maybe like 2 or 3 short rows together for the heel section. All right, so for the heel pattern, the pattern asks us to knit to 1 stitch before the end of the round, and then wrap and turn. So I'm just zipping along. Markers are doing a little dance.
Shana, maybe you just tell us what you would do if you were on double points. Would you have 2 on the
Good question. Or... I would probably, because this is the lace, I would probably keep all of those instep stitches on one double point and then split up my stockinette over 2 double points.
Even though then your heel would be split between.
Yes,
I started the heel, you would
that way. I think that's what I would do. I mean, and there are those really cool new needles, the flip sticks, I think they're called.
Yeah, flexible double points.
Yes, those are very cool. So that would be another comfortable way to do this. Or maybe when I was working the heel, I would leave the instep stitches on a separate needle, like a circular or a circular holder, so that these stitches, the foot stitches, could be all on one needle. That would be an interesting thing. All right, so for short rows, the pattern here is calling for a wrap and turn short row. If you wanted to do German short rows instead, you would just knit 1 extra stitch from what the pattern is saying. So instead of knitting to 1 stitch before the end, you would actually knit the last stitch. But here we are, and 1 stitch before the end. To work a short row, a wrap and turn short row, I'm going to leave the yarn on the side of the work that it's on, slip the stitch over from the left needle to the right needle, bring my yarn forward to the front of the work, and you'll see right here, my stitch is kind of now wearing a little bit of a belt. And then I'm going to slip that stitch back over to the left-hand needle, hanging onto that belt there. This little belt right here. All right. Then I'm going to turn my work around. So the stitch is wrapped. Now my work is turned. And I'm going to purl to 1 stitch before the next marker and work another wrap and turn. So I'll show you what that's like on the purl side. Then we'll do another knit, another purl wrap, and then we'll take our little commercial break while I zip up more of this. And certainly I'm a continental knitter. These stitches can all be done in English style. It's the same concept of how you're moving the stitches over or purling them or knitting them. Okay, so we're getting to our last stitch on the bottom of the foot, the sole. Here we go. All right, so for the wrap and turn short row, my yarn is in the front for the purl. I'm going to leave it in the front, slip the stitch over purlwise, bring my yarn to the back. Then I'm going to get rid of that marker, slip the stitch over here. So that stitch is now wrapped. And I'm going to turn, hence wrap and turn, and go in the other direction again. So I have a little belt around my stitch, that little gray belt there. Okay, now I'm going to knit to one stitch before the wrapped stitch. There we go. So you can always tell where the wrapped stitch is because it looks like there's a kid missing a tooth right after it. You'll see that better on my after I've done my next wrap. But the wrap and turn, what we're doing is we're creating a shortened row. So we're not knitting to the end of the row here. On this row, row 3, I'm stopping short of my row, and I'm right here now. I'm one stitch before my wrapped stitch. I'm going to leave the yarn in the back of the work for knit, slip the stitch over to the right hand needle, bring my yarn to the front of the work, and slip that stitch back, making sure I trap that yarn around the stitch. And then I'm going to turn the work. And now I'm ready for row 4. Purl to one stitch before the wrap. So it's one stitch from the end, essentially. We'll do this purl wrap, and then while Suzanne does our little trivia for our first giveaway, I will work up some more short rows so that I can show you the next step. And please let us know if you have any questions in the chat box. All right, here we go. I'm coming up to this wrap and turn. So for wrap and turn, you leave the yarn on the side of the work where it is. So it's on the purl side right here. I'm leaving my yarn there. I'm going to slip over that stitch like a purl. Always slip it purlwise so that it does not twist. Then I'm going to bring my yarn to the back of the work, slip that stitch back over to the left-hand needle, and then turn the work around. So now that stitch is wearing a little belt, got a little loop around it. And then I'm going to keep repeating the last 2 rows. So the pattern calls for 9 more times until 14 stitches are between the wraps. So each time you work one less stitch for this section, you're building up height in the middle of the sock. So right here at the heel, and you're coming in smaller and smaller. You're keeping these rows shorter and shorter. So you're building up height in the center of the heel, but not all the way around the sock.
Shayna, what would your preferred short row method be for socks? Do you have one, or do you just?
I am more a fan of German short rows lately, but I do have a lot of socks that I've done wrap and turns on, and you know, I think since I've knit them a long time ago, those socks. Here we go. I'm ready for another short row. I'm going to slip that over, bring the yarn to the front, slip the stitch back, and then I'm going to turn. And I'm going to purl. So each of these short row stitches has a big gap between it. That's where the row has turned around. So this short row here was done on, let's call it row 1. This one here is all the way up on row 6, but they're all connected on this needle here. It's fascinating what short rows do. So like 15 years ago, I knit a pair of socks that I love and I still have, and they're so cozy. And I had done wrap and turns on those. So they've really stood up nicely over the years.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But lately I've been favoring German short rows. What about you, Suzanne?
I think I favor German short rows too. I just feel like they're a little smoother, not just like easier to do.
Yes. And also I feel like when you're working in the round with them, which we will be eventually with these stitches, they close up a little neater too.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. We've got our yarn in the front. I'm one stitch before my previous wrap. I'm going to slip that stitch over, move my yarn to the back, slip the stitch back to that left-hand needle, thereby trapping the yarn, and turn the work around. Okay, so take it away, Suzanne.
Right. Okay, do I get to do it? All right, everybody, open your chats and we'll ask the first questions. I'm going to take the third correct answer. So let's see. What color is Shayna using? Do you remember that color name? It's the new one from Zen. All right, we've got a couple. All right, Joyce, you are the third person to get it correct. So Joyce, go ahead and send your email to Zen Yarn Garden in your chat, and we'll get you a $20 gift card. All right, I guess I get to ask another question too. So we still have one more chance to win tonight. Let's see. What short row method are we using? Or is Shayna demonstrating right now? Which one is she demonstrating right now? All right, let's take the third again. So, sorry. Rosemary Lewis, I think you're the third one. So go ahead and send, yay, good job. Send your email to Zen Yarn Garden, and we will get you a $20 gift card. That's good on the whole site. Remember, they still have those grab bags up on the site, which are really fun. You know, you could use one skein would make 2 pairs of these socks. They also have the 50-gram skeins of yarn too that are smaller, just one for this pair of socks. So that's really fun. All right, and I know we still have a little bit more to cover here on the heels. So I will turn it back over to Shayna, and please post questions in the chat. And this one, we're covering the heel turn too, and then next week Shayna is going to cover the cuff. So
bingo. Yes,
she's almost done. Right, just the heel left.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Right.
All right. Okay. So here we go. Let's imagine, if you will, that I've done my, 11 short rows on each side. Here I've gotten 4 done. Sorry, everyone. I'm not as speedy as I thought I would be. I will for next week. I will for next week have the full heel knit. But for now, I'll just demonstrate what you're going to do when you get to the spot where you've completed your 11 wrap and turns on each side. What you're going to do is resolve the first wrap and turn. So essentially what we will have done in this sock, if you were looking at it from the bottom of the sole, so here are your toes. Oh boy, yeah. Here are your toes, here's the bottom of the sole. We've basically done this. Okay, we've worked 11 short rows on each side, and we'll have 14 stitches at the back of the heel. Okay, that's what we've done. Now what we're going to do is resolve all these short rows, get the stitches back on the needle while still making a little bit of a cuff, or of a cup, excuse me, for our heel. So what you're going to do is knit to your first short row, and it's totally acceptable to place markers after each one so that you know where to find them. But here we go. I've gotten to my first short row. So you can see this stitch is wearing a little bit of a belt. Got that wrap around it. I'm going to, on my knit side, insert my right-hand needle into the belt and then into the stitch and knit the 2 together. And that resolves the short row, closes it up. And then the next step in the pattern is actually to wrap the next stitch. So I'm going to do a second short row on top of this stitch here. So my yarn stays in the back. I slip the stitch over purlwise, move my yarn to the front, slip the stitch over, thereby trapping the yarn, and turn the work around. Then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. You're going to resolve your first short row and then wrap and turn on the very next stitch, thereby making 2 short rows. So for the first half of the heel, we came in, building up that little mountain here. So we kept working shorter and shorter rows. Here for the second half of the heel, we're going to work longer and longer rows until we resolve all of the stitches on the heel. Okay, let's see, let me get there and I'll show you how to pick up this wrap and then resolve a double short row on each side. All right, so here we go. Purl wraps are a little trickier to get into. Your yarn's in the front. Here's my wrapped stitch. I'm going to lift up this wrap from behind. So my needle is coming back to front through the rear of the wrap, and I stick it on my needle like so. And then I'm going to purl the two together. And now I have to wrap my next stitch. My yarn stays in the front for purl, slip the stitch over, yarn to the back, slip that stitch back. Now that stitch has two belts on it, two wraps. And I'm going to turn and work now to the other side of the work, which has that doubled wrap stitch on it. So I'll show you how to resolve that, and I will show you how to resolve the double wrap on the purl. And that'll get you up to speed for next week when we work the cuff. Yep. All right, so again, you can see where your first wrap is based on where it looks like a kid is missing a tooth. There's a little bit of extra space right after a wrap stitch. And particularly here where we've done a double wrap. So here we go. I've got two wraps on this stitch. One's a little darker and one's a little lighter. I'm going to insert my needle into the two of them and into the stitch and knit the three together before discarding my stitch. Then I'm going to wrap this stitch. Yarn in the back, I slip the stitch, move the yarn to the front, slip the stitch back and turn. So now that stitch has two wraps, and I will resolve the one on the purl side. And that will give you a sense of all the techniques. So again, you can refer to this video on the Zen Yarn Garden YouTube page. And that way, if you have questions or need a refresher on how to work those wrap and turns,
yeah, we cover a lot in a short amount of time in these videos. So
yes, there's so much to learn with heels and instep shaping. So let's see. We go. All right, I'm close to my wrap again. It's the one with the big gap after it. That's the wrap stitch. Here I go. All right, so this stitch now has two wraps on it. One is brownish, one is the gray. So I'm going up into the back of those two wraps. My needle goes up. So I'll show you from the front. They go up like this into the two wraps. I slide them onto my needle. So I bump them up onto the needle, and then I'm going to purl the three together before wrapping and turning the next stitch. So now this one will be doubled up. And so what this is doing is completely turning the work to open up the fabric again. And I'll get that more legitimate for next time. For our next week, you'll be able to see the entire heel before we start in with the cuff. So that is wrap and turn short rows and working on the heel cuff. Again, we went in, now we're going to go out. And as we go out, we're consuming all those stitches that had already been short rowed. And so it actually turns the cuff on itself. Exactly. So yeah, and this is Joyce, I agree. I love this colorway too. It's so rich and beautiful. Like it's the perfect neutral. It's got everything. So yeah, this was a blast. Thank you everyone for attending. I'm going to put Suzanne up here with me so we can say goodbye. And please join us next week for this 36th Tutorial Tuesday. Where
just to prepare, so after we do the cuff, then the following week is going to be the show and tell. And that one, it's not going to be recorded. So it's just going to be a live thing. We do have prizes and extra special prizes for anybody who finishes their sock in the Zen Yarn Garden yarn. So make sure you bring your knit things for us to see.
Yes. Thank you all so much. Happy knitting. Thank you.
Thank you.